everyone. This is episode 60 of the Inventive Marketing Club. We're here every Friday morning so we can build a better marketing strategy together. Today, I'm joined by Helen Caldicott from Citrus Web. We're going to be talking about a book that Helen and I wrote back in 2014, which is quite some time ago. And the reason we're revisiting it is we're going to look through some of the key chapters that we like to see whether they still hold up in today's social climate, which has changed quite considerably. Hello, Helen. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thanks. Feeling a little bit rough around the edges this morning after celebrating last day of term with everybody. So.
Yay! I know. Well, it's exciting. I don't know. Are you celebrating the fact that you've got all this time with the kids, or are you consoling yourself that you've got all this time with the kids?
No, I'm looking forward to having more time with Isabella, but I'm also relishing the fact of not having to get her up early in the morning and take her to school every day. So I think that was the main thrust of our celebrations really yesterday. Celebrating
the lions.
Yeah, exactly.
So we met at an Action Coach event run by Simon Williams. I can't remember when or where it was, but I think Simon introduced us because we were kind of, you were doing social media back then, social media training. So he thought, well, we were in the same industry, we should get to know each other.
Absolutely.
And then I can't remember how quickly, but we thought, yeah, that we should get together. There was a bit of a spark between us in terms of the interest, and we thought, let's see if we can do something together in terms of workshops to sort of grow our business. And I was looking back through pictures to try and find out when we started doing that, and I found some pictures going back to one of the first workshops in 2011.
Oh my goodness.
I know, and I'm going to bring some up now just to embarrass you a little bit. Let's see if I can find them. Here we
Hopefully
go.
I'm not hungover on those photos.
I think I'm showing my entire screen. There we are. Let's go back to this. So in these photos, this was back in 2011 at a place in Worcester called Pepper Pot. I can't remember what it's called now.
It was the Swan at Whittington, I think.
No, not this first one. These first ones were a little cafe that I managed to find who would give us coffee, the place for free, the room for free, as long as we paid for a certain amount of coffees. So I always had to fill the room to get my money's worth on the coffees. And I think we had the photographer, the photographs I'm showing here from a photographer, Richard Weaver, who invited along.
Oh, that's right.
You can come along for free if you take some photos. So there's us. I think Helen, you're looking just the same.
Whereas, I don't think so. I mean, I've got a 7-year-old daughter now, so obviously, I've aged a little bit since there. There's my hair. I didn't have to dye my hair to achieve that colour then. But
yes, kids can bring that on. Sadly,
you look very similar. Apart from obviously you've got a beard now.
I've got a bit more growth around here, a bit less on the top. There's us preparing. I remember in this particular room, I've got some photos that demonstrate. I haven't got them here. It was very narrow. So a lot of everyone was sort of backed up against the window, and we had this really small space to work. And my projector made a little tiny screen on the wall. I remember us having to set that up. It was quite fun. Yeah. We had a good number of people, and it was really good actually.
It was lovely. It was a very relaxed atmosphere, wasn't it? And everybody felt that they could talk about their marketing issues and different things like that. So it was just it was good to get other business owners together. And try and help them out and guide them with their marketing, SEO, social media, all of those kind of things. So it was good.
And get to meet them, because I found that going to networking, that you might meet a few people, but you wouldn't really you wouldn't get to demonstrate our expertise. And so having a workshop and getting people to come along, I think with the early ones, they were free. So people come along for free. They would get something out of it, but we would get to demonstrate that we kind of knew what we were talking about and could actually help them and maybe get some business off the back of it, which we both did. It worked really well for that.
It did.
And then we moved on. See if I've got some more here. We moved on to doing them a bit more regularly. And so we tried to develop this monthly club, a bit like this, a bit like the Inventive Marketing Club, but we're running it together. And And we were just talking about how hard it was to not only come up with the ideas, what we're going to talk about for an hour, or I think they were slightly longer at that point, what exercises we're going to get people to do, getting people to come along. That was always taxing. And these were paid for as well. People had to pay for these particular workshops.
But they were workshops, weren't they? I think that was the beauty of them, is that people actually had time to work on their own businesses and apply the knowledge. So they had something that they could take, actually they were being productive and they were being guided, but it was a bit like a training session, but then it was also a workshop, because we kept it very open and people could ask questions and stuff like that. So I think we added real, good value for everybody. And they were fun, weren't they?
They were fun.
I think we do have a bit of, I don't know, like a Morecambe and Wise kind of. I'm not saying who's who, which person's a great guy or whatever, but I think we've got very different styles, but we complement each other well.
Yeah, it worked quite well actually. And we always came up with some very interesting content. I think people did enjoy it, and we got to meet lots of different companies actually. It was very good.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But it took a lot of effort. It was really, there was a lot of travel involved in doing it, but it's rewarding. I think I've got,
oh gosh. I remember those little diagrams that you used to draw.
Yeah, I don't know enough of those. I should do more, shouldn't I? I used to draw. I used the app. Oh no, that was an app made by the Basecamp founders for sketching out mock-ups of stuff. But I thought it looked quite cool because it's all thick and blocky.
You love your apps.
I do.
Has that changed? Do you still love your apps?
I think I've pared it back a bit. I have a smaller set. I've actually I haven't got it here now. I've actually just gone back to using a pad and pen, just using regular paper, just because I do love an app. But the problem is you have to make sure your iPad is charged, everything's there and ready. And it's like, it's a bit of a pain. Bit of paper always works. No batteries needed.
I never thought I'd hear the day.
And then we did these fun little things where at the end of the event, we would get people to write on a card something like a testimonial, what they thought about it, or anything, whatever they wanted on there, just a thought. And then we'd take photos of them, which we'd then use as promotion. So we'd put those out on social media. So there's, I can't remember him, but he's from Eastnor Pottery. And actually we went there for Christmas do, which I know you came to. That was quite fun.
And I think that was a really good idea. That was your idea. I remember all those different multicolored sheets of paper that we gave out, and then you did lots of nice collages and posters, and they were really vibrant.
We put them together, and I kept them for ages. I think I've got rid of them all now, but I kept them for ages because I was like, these feel valuable, because they want a nice card, and people had handwritten and put smiley faces on them. But
you could probably have a word with Google, because you could liven up their Google reviews. They could be a lot more interesting, couldn't they? If there was actual, a face and a photo.
Yeah, maybe Google could do something similar.
Exactly.
I would like to redo this in a way. It's more difficult doing it remotely, but it would be nice to have something where people could, in this photo, it's nice because you've got an emotion. Someone has hopefully enjoyed it. So it's difficult to fake, although people can. You've got a little testimonial that can be used. And we definitely didn't use these enough. We did sort of share about them, shout about them, put them on social media, maybe even put them in a few videos. But I think there was more we could have done with this. So it's an interesting idea, but anyone running events, collecting feedback in a visual form like this was so much easier, so quite useful.
Yeah.
I think that's the end of it.
So maybe you could do a screenshot or a selfie or something like that with people.
Yeah, I know. I have seen some networking groups where they will screenshot the Zoom panel so you can see everyone there. I think that's just to show, look how many people there are in this particular one. Social proof, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it.
So just before we go on to the book, just tell us a little bit about where you are now. So you've got the company Citrus Web, and you've moved from social media all the way through to web development. Tell me a little bit about that.
That's it. So well, I guess when we were working together originally, I social media was just taking off. And I think lots of businesses were quite skeptical of the value that it had for their businesses, which seems like an alien concept now, doesn't it? Because we're on social media all the time. We search for things on social media, but actually, 11 years ago, I think there was the need to explain the benefit of sharing all this information and having these conversations with our customers. So, I did quite a bit of that back then. And I delivered lots of training workshops and coaching and things like that to basically enable people to understand social media and to do it for themselves. Because I always think, the best way to do it is for people to do it themselves and for it to be genuine, if you like. So I did that for quite a while. And then in 2015, I had a little girl. So basically, I needed to have work that was more based at home. I couldn't go around delivering workshops everywhere. I could do things, I suppose, online, but it wasn't the same. And so I basically took a step back, reevaluated what I wanted to do, and focused more on things that I really enjoyed. And I've worked on websites for years. I used to work at Worcester County Council many years ago. So I've edited and created content for lots of websites. And then I've designed the odd website here and there for people. And I was like, well, actually, I quite like all of this. And, I was always interested in the theory behind it and making things work properly. So the SEO and all of those kind of things. So that basically got me into the web design side of things. And then, as we were saying before, I designed quite a few websites, and then I would recommend that people update them on a regular basis with blogs, that they need to signpost people to their websites, that they need to run events, all of these different kind of things, and they wouldn't do it. So then basically, to ensure that my websites were working effectively, I also now offer the marketing services to so that I offer the whole package. And I keep saying me, there are other people that I work with and I outsource things. Sometimes if it's a smaller business, then they could just use me and, it's enough that I work with that business. But for larger companies, sometimes I call in other people that write blogs, send the newsletters, do the social media, and different things like that. So we work more as a team with other consultants. So all self-employed people, but we come together as and when needed, if you like. Probably like a lot of that's what I think. That's just the way that life's going now, isn't it? We've got so many people that work for themselves, that are small businesses or consultants, so many different specialisms. But we can just call on each other when we need to.
Yeah.
So that's where I am at the minute.
It's good that you like it as well. I mean, I like you. When we started back in 2009, we were just web development, and I found that if we just stay there, we have to wait until work comes our way. We have to wait until a company wants a website or a change to website. Much better to sort of stand at the front and help them drive a need for the website or the changes. And also then once you've developed a website, just as you said, not allowing it to languish.
Yeah, exactly.
Coming up with ways that they can push that forward, not just for your own, just so you get income, but so that they will create more profit out of it or build a better business.
Yeah,
absolutely. The two, you can do just one of them, but I think they actually work really well together because it's a good tool. But we're going to jump back now away from websites and go to social media. We're going to return to our book. I'm just going to bring up because it's still on sale, you can actually buy it. So I'll bring up the screen share here of the Apple Books page where you can actually buy it. You can go on there now and buy it for £5. I tell you what though, anyone watching this, it is a bargain, but anyone watching this, if you get in contact with us, I'm sure we'll get you a free PDF copy of it because there's still some good stuff in there.
Absolutely, yes.
Now, I just wanted to, I thought I'd bring this up and just talk a little bit about the background about how we got to the point of writing a book and what that experience was like, because it was hard. Helen and I caught up earlier in the week, and we are just going through what we're going to talk about, and we were sort of reliving how hard it was. I think it took us around 2 years from the initial idea to
not solidly,
getting it live.
though. Not solidly. Not
No.
solidly.
I think though, initially the idea came pretty quickly, and we were able to bring together a load of ideas. We had a core idea that it wasn't just going to be a boring book with lots of text in it. It was going to be lots of short bits of advice that people could glance through. So I think that idea was pretty quick, and we came up with a lot of ideas pretty quickly. And I remember that we came up with lots of topics, then we split them in half, and we went away and we wrote them individually, and then we came back together with all this content, merged it, and I think that happened pretty quickly. I thought that took place over a number of months. I don't know what your thoughts were on that.
Absolutely. And I mean, what we should say is that at the time you were based in Hereford and I was based in Worcester, and we did all of this work online. And it was unheard of back then, wasn't it? So we'd catch up much like this, wouldn't we? And then bring our work together and then go through, review it. And anybody who works with Ben obviously knows that he's got very strong ideas. Opinions.
Claire's nodding.
So we'd have a discussion on every single point. And how many are there?
How many indeed? That's interesting. So if I flick to the end, and there's a lot, there are. Oh,
you've made it.
57.
That almost
57.
You've made it. It's like you've made it. You've finished the book. I think that's a note to us. So we have 57 separate not arguments, discussions, I should say. On what our theory, what we thought. But I think we agree. I definitely agree all the way through on these different tips, and some of them, are still very relevant today, even though, social media has changed so much. But some of the principles are definitely still the same, aren't they?
They are, and actually, I've got a tab here open because something we talked about, which I don't think is mentioned in any one of our tips, but it was about how people use social media. So you want to bring that back up. So you're talking about how people might find information. So rather than going onto Google, they might actually look for restaurants or restaurant reviews in TikTok. Yeah.
So it was just something that I read the other day, and exactly that. Basically, millennials or young people these days, they're not always going straight to Google to do their searching and to actually look for the best place to eat and things like that. They're actually going on to TikTok and searching for restaurants, and then they get all the reviews in front of them. And likewise, they might be more influenced by their friends on Instagram than they would by going a more conventional way, should we say, or a more traditional way with, sort of 40-plus-year-old people would normally go straight to Google. So it's just acknowledging really that there's that shift in how people search for products and services. So likewise, if we're representing restaurants and those kind of businesses or places to stay or leisure industry kind of things, that we need to have that representation, and obviously that the target market are a lot younger, that we need to have that representation on TikTok and Instagram and places like that as well.
So, certainly if we're looking for that younger market, then absolutely. And you can see why, looking at some of the videos I'm showing on here, they're all about the experience, the wonder, the interest, something that's different. And you've got a few where they're showing off very well put together little clips of video, very tightly edited. Actually, they're quite, really, they look pretty nice. There's one here I'm hovering over where they've got dry ice coming off the table. Everything looks really exciting. This another restaurant where they've got it's sort of a pan over this tasty food. I'm like, oh man, I want to be there. No, I was just going to say, so from a point of view of driving desire to go to these places, so much better to have these sort of well put together, reasonably honest looking videos. I mean, actually, this one isn't overly edited. I mean, that's better than a review, really, because you can look at that and say, well, I'm going to hold them to that standard. And that's what I'm expecting when I come there. All the way through to recommendations. I mean, this person, I don't know who they are, don't know how popular they are. They've also got a lot of views on this particular one. But they are recommending 5 must-try restaurants in Rome to go to. So obviously, you look at these, it's going to give you a literal flavor of it, and you're going to try them. So, websites are important, but it's just going to show how much more social media that people actually living on it. That's their world, and the websites are really secondary to that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's just making that acknowledgement, isn't it, and making sure that it's part of your marketing strategy, really.
Absolutely.
So I'm sure if we wrote the book now, we'd have quite a different book, wouldn't we?
I think it would. I wonder. Yeah, I think it would definitely be good. I mean, there would be chapters that we probably wouldn't include that just aren't really relevant anymore. They seem quite twee when you think about them. But it would be interesting to see, certainly with the commerce angle, how social media is really trying to own the place where people spend money. Because you're not having people leave to go to a website, but also it's about people capturing that little additional bit of revenue, which multiplied up millions of times makes a lot of money. And I think that's the big fight at the moment. You can start seeing all these companies maneuvering to position to capture that. Not quite there yet, but it's not far off it. It'd be interesting to see how that evolves.
Yeah, absolutely.
Should we have a look through? We've got we've picked up 3 each, and we're going to go through them alternately. Before we do, or maybe we can comment as we go through, I want to just briefly talk about the photos that we're using in the chapters, because we didn't take these photos, nor are they stock photos. I don't think any of them are stock photos. We found them on Flickr. I don't think there were any free stock libraries available at the time when we were looking. There was just Shutterstock, iStock Photo, and they all cost money. And we also didn't want photos that looked like stock photos. We wanted photos that looked real. And so we went to Flickr, and we took a long time to not only find the right image for each one, particularly the front cover here, which I thought was quite funny. I don't know if it's relevant to the book, but I thought it was quite sweet. But we found the cover photos, and then we got permission to use them because it was a commercial piece. We had to basically write to every single person and say, can we use your book? You'll get a free copy of the book. That was the only payment we were going to give them for it. And obviously we'd give them credit in there for their photo. But I remember there was one person where we used the photo. We wanted to use their photo. We had it in the book. We got a PDF sample and we sent it to them saying, can we use it? Here's the book. And they were like, no, take it out immediately. You cannot use this. They were particularly strong on that, weren't they?
I wonder why, because like you say, we referenced them all, didn't we? We sort of, we could have potentially driven more traffic to them. But I think some people, maybe if you, again, 11 years on or whatever, if you ask them now, they might have been more open to it. But I don't know. It depends, I suppose. And sometimes people just want the royalties, don't they? If they're the photographer.
Yeah, it's fair enough. It's their image.
Yeah, exactly. But you found all of these. I mean, I didn't. There was a lot that you did, I think. So with it, structuring it, putting it, on the Apple to buy, I wouldn't have a clue how to do all of that, to be honest. So it was more, that you and I went through and discussed the content that went on there, but you did all the bricks and mortar and putting it all together, and the editing it, and just making it look lovely. And I said to Ben the other day, when we look at it now, it still looks fresh and new, even though it's 11 years old. It might have took 2 years, but you found really good images. And you formatted it really nicely. And I think that longevity, I think that's nice.
Well, thank you. I think it does still look good, and the images don't look dated. No. They look interesting. In fact, some of them are deliberately dated, so they don't look dated now. They're like, it's quite fun.
Clever. Yeah. That's a clever thing to do, which in a way, so your eye for design has got longevity. So that's goes in your face, so like you say, if it was a stock image, very soon they go out of fashion.
Yeah.
And they look dated.
Yeah, if they're too on trend. And there's a few, if I can remember to find them, that are quite funny. Like this one I quite like because it's a little bit cheeky, literally, but I thought it goes well with get noticed, because it's like, well, if you want to get noticed, a naked man cycling down the street is likely to get noticed, for better or worse, but it's likely to get noticed. And so we tried to look at the chapter title and see if we could find something that plays off nicely with it. Well, first up is you, Helen, number 8. So let me see if I can find that one.
Yeah. So
I'm just going to skip past these.
Yeah, no problem.
There we go.
So this is it. Find people worth following. So it sounds, really obvious, but basically what we're saying here is you need to be really picky, actually, with who you follow on social media, because if you don't, basically you could end up following thousands of people with no real focus on your topic. So you need to find good quality to ensure your feed is full of good content and good quality content that you might want to reshare, or people that you want to work with. You've really got to be choosy and think about your criteria for following people. So it sounds, I don't know, because I wonder if sometimes people went onto Twitter and started just going, oh, well, they're okay, I'll just follow them. I'm not sure why I'm following them. And people were just following. You'd have 1,000 people you're following. You look at your feed and it's just overwhelming. So we went, I think I remember this correctly, we went through a period where we filtered out people and stopped following them. We sort of drew back and went, why am I following this person? Unfollow. So probably annoyed a lot of people. Why have they unfollowed me? But it just was that they weren't relevant to the particular person's account or the business or whoever it might be. So, and I think this really, it still holds true today, that you need to think, well, what do I want to achieve by following this person? What am I going to get out of it? What value are they going to add to my business? And can I reshare their content? So, I think particularly with Twitter as well, where they become part of your feed. And so therefore, if you aren't getting anything from them, that they're only just adding additional noise to your feed. So it really doesn't help. Yes, the removing of people I call a social media cull. And it's something I like to do every now and then, and just sort of get rid of them. You're gone. You're dead to me. Check now and see if you're following me.
You know what, on Twitter? I have no idea. I haven't looked at Twitter. I haven't used Twitter for a long time. Because I don't get value from it anymore. I spend time on LinkedIn. That's where I focus and I get value from. Twitter, I find, I don't know, I'm not in it enough. I think if you're in Twitter a lot, I think it's great having this information pour over you. But I don't want that. I want to sort of get something I want out of LinkedIn or social media and then move on. So actually this particularly is really important for me, that I don't have too much noise in there.
No, that's it. And I think what we, because we touched on this the other day, didn't we? It was, it doesn't matter what your channel is. So if you prefer, you prefer LinkedIn, or if someone else prefers Twitter, or someone else prefers YouTube, for example, and to receive information in a more visual way and videos and things like that, then again, you just have to subscribe to things that are going to be useful and add value. So that what you're subscribing, it's just being a bit more aware when you click follow, or when you click like, or when you subscribe to something, that you're just thinking, hold on a minute, why am I doing that? How's that adding value for me?
I think so. And I think whether that's you as an individual, if you're just starting out in business, or you're just a freelancer on your own, or you're a company, I still think it sets a tone to say, these are who we follow. This is what we think is important. In fact, more so as a company.
What was the next one?
The next one is number 14. Let me find that. Be the first to comment. So I'm pretty sure this video was around Oh, it mentions Wildwood Rooms. That's where we used to have a lot of our club meetings there. That was lovely.
Yeah.
So being the first to comment is all about, let me take a step back a little bit. A lot of people, when we were writing this, struggled to write on social media. They struggled to put something useful out there. They thought, well, what do I talk about? And one of the things we said to people is, don't necessarily worry about what you need to talk about. Worry about helping other people. So if there is someone else who is posting or asking questions or putting interesting information out there, be the first person to support them, to ask them questions, to provide answers, to support what they're doing. That in a way not only helps other people, and you might get that help back in return, but also it's practice without the fear of putting out that first post where you get no response to it. So actually just helping other people like that is really good practice to writing on social media at the time. I don't think people really need to do that now, but it was a helpful comment. I think it still is relevant though, because there is a video called Leadership Lessons with Dancing Guy, I think it is. And I play it a lot, but it's basically this very bad video of a guy dancing in a field on his own at a music festival. And there's a lot of people sort of looking at him and maybe laughing at him until one person goes to join him and starts dancing with him. And I think that person goes there kind of to joke, oh, look at me, I'm dancing with the crazy guy. But actually he's enjoying it. And he doesn't want to feel alone. So he invites his friends over. Anyway, what happens is everyone starts crowding around this dancing guy, and he's not a crazy loon anymore. He is the leader. Great video. If anyone hasn't seen it, go and find it out. It's Dancing Guy, Leadership Lessons by Dancing Guy, or Naked Guy, or something like that. And so what I took from that, and what does work quite well, is that if you see someone out there, whether they're a big profile or not, is be the first person to comment. Because what the video was saying is leaders don't succeed without people who follow them. And if you are that first follower, you are the crucial person that will validate the leader and turn them from that crazy loon into someone who's got something, who's going in a certain direction. And it's the same with social media as well. If someone posts something, by being the first to comment, you validate it. You validate them and you validate what they're saying, and you show the way to other people. So it makes it easier for other people to comment, because you've kind of broken the seal on the commenting, so they'll never be the first. You're the first. Also, I found is that often people refer back to you. So let's say someone asks a question, they're looking for a way to do something. If you're the first person in to say, oh, I'd suggest this could be a good way of doing it, everyone else after you might then start referring back to Ben. I like Ben's idea. That was really good, but perhaps we could do this as well, or perhaps you should try this. And so you get maybe not as much attention, but you get quite a bit of attention just by being the first person to comment. It works quite well, I think. And we don't do it enough, in fact. And there's another little tip you can use in LinkedIn. I think this helps with the algorithm, is that if you put a post out, so Claire will put a post out about this recording when it's finished for either today or next week. She'll put a post out on LinkedIn saying, we've recorded the club session with Helen and so on. Rather than mentioning you in the initial post, we'll also put a mention to you in the comment. And that helps drive LinkedIn's algorithm. And it means it's more likely for you or whoever we're mentioning to comment. Because there is already a comment there. So that it's it's a bit of psychology going on, but actually it works quite well.
That's good. Because like you say, that's then been validated by adding a comment to it. I got it.
I mean, I don't have so much experience with the other social channels, but definitely on LinkedIn it works. That process works quite well, actually.
I'll have to try and be the first to reply.
Absolutely, you've got to get in there straight away. But you'll notice, I mean, you might notice coming across certain posts that there are some with none and then some with a lot more. Once they have one, they'll definitely have a lot more. It encourages people to like it as well. Okay, should we move on to the next one? This is yours, Helen. So this is 13. We're actually dropping back a bit to here. Find others, who love what you do. And actually, when we were talking on Wednesday, you mentioned a lampshade group. I don't know if you want to use them.
Oh, yes. Yeah. So it's just basically, I think, when you've got a niche type product or something like that, like lampshade makers. So this, I didn't realise that lampshade making was a thing. Okay, but so I've basically refreshed a website for interior designers, and through doing a bit of research and stuff, one of the exhibitors there creates lampshades. Okay, and kits and everything that you need to design and make a lampshade. So this wasn't my idea. I wish it was. But basically what they do to encourage people and to get an audience together effectively was they created a Facebook group. And I should have found out what it was, but something like lampshade makers or lampshade interest group or something like that on Facebook. And it's got thousands and thousands of followers. And it's all these interior designers and people who are just interested in home decor and doing things, making things at home themselves. I suspect during lockdown, it probably had, loads of hits as well. And people just go on there, share ideas, upload videos on how to make lampshades. There's loads of different styles. There's all these different patterns. And basically, it was the brainchild of the person that makes the kits. But it doesn't look that way. It looks, it's just like a really natural way of having a conversation around making lampshades. So, and anyone can go in there. So it's not just, they haven't stopped other suppliers going on there. It's just made a massive interest group to include all of those people. So finding others who love what you do, I think, but this in effect was thinking around a topic of all the people who might love your product or be associated with your product, and then posting things, tagging them, commenting on their stuff and joining their conversations basically. But you could also go as far as to create a campaign and generate that conversation, if you like. So I don't know, the one campaign that we mentioned in the book was about Waitrose. Was it Waitrose Reasons? Hashtag Waitrose Reasons was a campaign years and years ago.
I remember. Yeah. I think I remember that. Long time ago.
So they created a hashtag called Waitrose Reasons, and then people got on the back of it and sent funny comments like, I love Waitrose because Farquhar can find his Alfonso mangoes or whatever, Alfonso mangoes. So people just thought it was a funny thing. I love Waitrose because, and they're all trying to like outdo each other for all these ridiculous reasons.
Didn't that backfire a little bit as well?
No. What happened was McDonald's tried to tried to do the same campaign, but they did McDonald's stories, and then it was like, I hate McDonald's because they kill the rainforest and deforestation, and I found a mouse in my hamburger and things like that. So it worked completely the opposite way. So you do have to be careful and try and think of, well, how could it be turned against us really? But
or have a good company where people wouldn't want to do that.
Yeah, well, exactly. That would be ideally the best way, but
with conversations like so, going back to the lampshade company who are kind of generating their own community, how do you keep conversation? How do you start the conversation? Because I find you can find people to join a community. It's starting and keeping that community going so it then has its own energy. Do you have any ideas on that? Because that is tough.
I guess us putting it back to people and asking them, what they're interested in. If it was with lampshades, I guess, well, I don't know. It's, frequently asked questions. Trying to get a list of all the things that people are interested in around that topic.
Yeah, getting some initial engagement and sort of suggesting things until eventually people start
doing it themselves.
Yeah,
so I think that's what maybe probably how I'd start. I don't know for definite, but that's what I guess.
I guess it's a bit kind of showing the way as well. If we go back to the dancing guy, it's like almost trying to see the crowd. It's like you have in maybe a comedy club or various shows, you know, that you're not sure whether it's going to go well. You might see the crowd where people are going to clap and who are going to ask questions. So, you know, hopefully you don't need to use them, but you've got people there that will to start things off, to lead, and then, you know, that the rest of the crowd will follow. Like, I guess you need people who are going to ask questions, or you need some questions in the bank, or things to talk about.
I think, like, when we were creating this book, we could put ourselves in the shoes of other business owners, because we were business owners ourselves and still are. So it's like, well, what do we want to find out about? You know, that's basically where we started, wasn't it? It's like, well, what things do we need to know or are interesting? So we started from that angle. And I think that's, you know, it's trying to think, you just sort of build your knowledge that way, don't you? It comes in a natural way.
Yeah, maybe it's about being honest as well, and saying, well, I don't know where this is going to go, but let's see what happens.
Exactly.
And they can go on the journey with you. So next up, we've got 18. Don't be boring. Well, easier said than done. Actually, I think we could have found a more exciting image, but I think it was the fiery skull. That was quite interesting. You know, you've got this quite sort of corporate Clark Wood Consulting Limited branding, and then this fiery skull, which is a bit more interesting, because it can be difficult. You know, if you've got a product that doesn't come across as particularly exciting, sometimes you might need to find, well, what is exciting about it? The product may never be exciting, but maybe the people are in the company, maybe the way we deliver it, maybe our clients have exciting things. It's trying to find out what you can talk about that is interesting. What this made me think of, though, is, do you remember Seth Godin? He, big into sort of business ideas, marketing, and actually he's doing something on climate change now. He's written a book with a lot of contributors on climate facts that people can give to other people, that kind of state what's actually going on rather than leaving it to social media. But he's got a book called Purple Cow, and in it he talks about being remarkable, that really you need to create your business as a purple cow, something that if people see it, they have to tell other people about it, because who sees purple cows on a regular basis? But the crux of it is being remarkable, because if you don't stand out, if you aren't doing things that are interesting enough to tell other people about, that people feel compelled to share it with other people, that you know, what you might be doing might be okay, might be great even, but if it's not remarkable compared to everything else, it's he says you're average, and average is for losers, basically.
I agree.
But I still use that now whenever I'm doing workshops, to say, look, whenever you're putting out content, whether it's on a website, social media, wherever it's going, try and aim for remarkable. Even if that is, you know, not everything is remarkable, but try and do some things that stand out a little bit, because then you're more likely to get noticed. But I kind of think, well, that's hard, isn't it? To do things that stand out, that are different, that are like the Go Compare adverts or the Meerkat adverts. They're remarkable, they're different, they stand out, but that requires a lot of creative energy, a lot of money, maybe, for the right ad team behind it. And I thought, well, how can you be remarkable in a way that's maybe a bit more sustainable? And I've sort of boiled it back to being remarkable on an individual basis. So trying to be remarkable one person at a time, like remembering their birthday, saying thank you for a referral, giving them a referral, just doing little things for one person at a time. You could contrive it to do it to people who've got a big social presence, perhaps, and so you're only doing it for people you know might show you off a bit more. But I thought that's actually quite a nice way to be remarkable.
Absolutely. I think actually, one of the nice things about working with you, Ben, is that you do think of things that are very creative and do things in a nice way. Like, the whole rather inventive, the whole idea of that as a concept, as a name for a company, I think is really remarkable. That is remarkable. It's not, it's not a boring title. And like the little testimonials and things like that, and all the colourful branding, and that was part of the reason, obviously, because you're a lovely chap, but all of the ideas that around that's why I think I really enjoyed all of that, and working together with you. So I think you really, you add value for companies like that, because it is hard. It's hard to do it for yourself and to think, how can I make my business remarkable? But sometimes doing it for another company, you go, well, obviously you've got a fantastic business. This is what you need to do, but I think sometimes people need the encouragement and the support to actually do that and accept that as well. But I think you do that really well.
Thanks, Helen. Well, no, you're right, and we were talking before about the club and about Claire and I, talk about the club, developing it and seeing it from our point of view, but we're inside it. We can't see outside of that. We can't see how it looks to other people. It's difficult for us to pick out what is remarkable about it. So those things we talk about, and it's great when you talk to other people and you can get their input on what they find is remarkable, because there may be, as a business, you might do interesting, remarkable things to talk about, but you think, well, that's just what I do. That's not remarkable. That's just what I do. And it's finding someone who is able to help you see what those remarkable bits are and say, come on, let's do that. Let's talk about that.
Exactly right.
It's helpful to find the right people. So yeah, I like this particular one, although we could have probably gone a bit more exciting on that page, I think.
I think it was difficult because they did post lots of stuff with their staff on. So I think we couldn't use their feed. So everything was remarkable that they did, but it was so remarkable, I think we couldn't put it in the book. I think that was something like why we couldn't put that one in, I think. But anyway.
That was a hard process, actually, finding images for everything. It
You're
really
allowed
took
to
time.
use.
Oh my gosh. I mean, we didn't ask for everything like this. I don't think we asked, because we felt it's in the public domain. We're promoting it. It's not really their copyright. It's just, it's fine, but it was hard work. Let's move on to the next 34. We're moving into another topic here. So, before we go on, I love this image. It's all about, the topic is helping others. And it is a couple, an older couple, and you've got the husband, I guess, the man, doing up the shoelaces for his wife. What's funny is that she looks so grumpy. It's like, God, my shoelaces have come undone again. Do them up for my John. I just think it's so funny. But this is all about, working together. Everything's better if you're working with someone else. I guess that rolls off the back of the previous one we were talking about. So let's move on. Where were we? 34. So actually, I think we're going to roll right past this on to run events. So 34. Yeah. Here we go.
So I think all of the last chapter still holds true today, doesn't it? I think that's what we said. And really with this, it's more about the planning to enable that live tweeting goes on and all of that kind of thing. You need to have pre-scheduled everything else in advance. So there's still, while people like live stuff, there's a lot of work that goes in the background, and the strategy and making sure that you've set all of that up and got that in place beforehand. Like with your Hereford tweet ups, you had to publicise that hashtag to the nth degree to get and encourage people, I should imagine. I didn't used to go to your Hereford tweet ups because they're
a bit far for you, weren't they?
Sticks.
Oh my God, but they were a weird concept. They were like, just come and meet other people who are on social media who you haven't met before. There's no reason for it apart from just for fun.
Yeah, you could have done a really lovely dating evening that way, meet up in Hereford type thing. I wonder if people used it for that, Ben.
Maybe they did. I found it interesting. What I liked about it is it's just like, you never know who you're going to meet. And I think sometimes if you go to a specific event, you'll never, like a workshop or a networking, it might just be the same people trying to do the same things. Whereas it's sometimes nice just to go to something completely different. Just, I don't know who I'm going to meet, and it doesn't matter. And it doesn't matter whether I'm going to get business from them, or we're just going to have a friendship, or we're just going to enjoy that evening. Doesn't matter. And I liked it for that, because it was just a bit of fun, really. It's an excuse to go out and the business to sort of under the guise of the business. But I think your point about, if you want to have make an event look, promote it well, capture a lot of the life from an event, you've got to plan it. Because if you don't plan it, it's just going to be a lot of hard work. You'll miss the opportunities for a lot of live video or
and people
photos.
won't turn up. Basically, that's the thrust of it. I mean, Worcester had a similar hashtag, Worcestershire Hour, and they used to do meetup. But I think you might have picked them to the post. I think you were the first during the Hereford Tweet Up. Well,
I stole this idea. It was it was in America. They were called Tweet Ups, and they came up with this concept and said, just take it, run with it, use it. But it wasn't. It was interesting, different, but takes a lot of work, like a lot of these, to actually keep them going over time.
I'm getting the feeling that you don't like work there. I don't know where that comes from.
Do you know? I love ideas. I find the execution, I wane a little bit. Unless I can automate it. That's something you said on Wednesday, that I always like to find a way of getting stuff done automatically.
I've realised that you don't use apps anymore. You just use Claire. Claire helps with that side.
Claire's the best app in the world. But yeah, events. I think events there were a few here. I think basically this whole section we were sort of recommending with this one. It was that if you want to run events properly, you have to plan them to get people there, to get some fun during the event afterwards. There's a lot of work that is involved in that, and the more effort you put into it, the nicer it's going to be, and the more fun it is. Unless you like working by the seat of your pants, or flying by the seat of your pants. I don't.
No, that's it. Last one then.
Last one is actually a phrase that it's not your phrase, but you sort of brought it up in conversation.
It's a well-known marketing phrase, but it's and the reason that it's almost a cliche, really, but that's because it holds true, and it's basically not. Well, you tell us, because this is your one. My one.
Sell the sizzle, not the sausage, which I just think it's really funny, but it's so true, isn't it? It's like, don't talk about with your bit. If you consider your what you do, your product, your service as the sausage, don't talk about the features of it. Don't talk about what's inside it, because people don't really care. What they care about is the emotional side of it, how it's going to help them, how they're going to feel. That's the sizzle. So talk about or show the sausage and how gorgeous it looks, the gloss on it, the noise it's making, the anticipation of biting into that sausage. That's what you need to talk about, not all of the rubbish that it might be made from.
Exactly right. That's right.
And I think it definitely still holds true. I mean, you can think about another way. Think about the benefits, not the features. So, you've got an iPhone. Well, an iPhone is made up of various electronics, chips. It's got speeds and feeds, they call it. It's like how fast something is. But who cares? What difference does that actually make to people? The difference a phone makes is that it connects you to other people around the world. It allows you to have some downtime with apps, or look at relived sort of moments with loved ones. That's what it does. It helps create emotion. And that's what we're all about, isn't it? Creating emotion in people. And I think that's what this section is about. And I'm often trying to get people to think about, what is it? What emotion do you create in your customers? How are you helping them? It's not the widget. It's not the consultancy. It's not even the helping them build a website. You are doing something for them and making them feel a certain way. And that's what you need to think about.
Yeah, exactly right.
I just read out one. There's actually two examples on here. I think one's better than the other, but we were talking about the iPod. We've got brilliant new design. iPod gets a new super slim design that barely feels there in your hand or pocket, which is kind of talking about how it feels. But they have a better phrase, and I don't know why we didn't include it, but the better phrase is 1,000 songs in your pocket. And that's really good because it's not, again, talking about the hardware. Who cares? It's talking about, wow, at the time, this was a wow, I can have all of my music in this little tiny device in my pocket whenever I want. It's not like a Sony Walkman or a tape or Discman where you've got to have a load of CDs with you. 1,000 songs, that's a lot. Compared to today, though, where you've got, millions of songs through streaming apps, YouTube, however you consume your music, you can have anything you want, whenever you want. At the time, that was amazing. And then there's another phrase here from Basecamp, one of my favorite apps. Basecamp, single page projects keep everything together with an entire project on one page. Nothing gets lost and your team always knows where things are. And that, to people, that's important, because I think when people are running projects, they feel a bit lost. Some of it's an email, some of it's in a Google Doc, some of it's on some chat app. It's in different places, maybe scribbles of paper. Having it in one place and keeping sane is something, I relish. And I think a lot of people relish, whether it's Basecamp or Trello or whatever system they use, doesn't really matter. But having things in a sane, logical order is really important. And that's, you're talking about the emotion a little bit, or talking about how you're a goal someone wants to achieve to make them feel better. So yeah, I definitely think this is relevant. Let's see. And then we basically work our way through. In fact, that image I still use a lot, of the baby and the heat tracking. Promote stuff, and then we move through to automate everything. We talk about different apps that can be used, like Buffer, which we don't use anymore, but I think is still a relevant app. There is actually a favorite one of mine, which I don't use. Let me see if I can find it. Tweet old posts. Now, I don't think this is so relevant, but the idea of it was great. I'll just quickly talk about it. It's a little plugin you put into WordPress, and it enables WordPress to then tweet out, sort of push older blog posts out into Twitter. And you could get it to choose a certain period of time ago, like 2 years ago. You could get it to choose some certain categories. And it was a really nice way. I used it with a client, Astute Graphics, of, if you've got a huge array of blog posts with a massive amount of content in there, you could then automate some of your publishing and some of the content that goes out in a way that was quite fun, I thought. The idea was very good, and I think what I'm trying to bring, or the idea I'm trying to bring forward, is look back at your content. Maybe there's some great blog posts or social media tweets that you've got from years gone by that actually you can revisit or redo or refresh in some way. But I think that brings us to the end.
Oh, what a shame.
It was good. I'm not sure I would want to do another book. Not because, getting to the end of it was great, and this book was brilliant, but it just took so long. It was so much effort. And I think I look back at this and think, oh gosh, to do that again would be quite a lot of work. So I don't know, how do you feel, Helen? Would you create another book?
I was just going to suggest that we do part 2, but obviously now, where does that leave me?
See, this would be ideal, wouldn't it? If we had another book and we're going to go, right, we've revisited it. Here's the new one. You can buy it now. It's in stores from next Tuesday. It'd be perfect. I'd love to. It's just the effort involved.
Maybe if we got that book deal, then we'd reconsider.
Well, I don't know. I was listening to Seth Godin, actually, one of his podcasts. He was saying that you can create stuff more easily than ever before. Like what we're doing now, we're creating content. Hopefully it's going to be useful to people, and we can cut and slice and put this out in different ways. But the nice thing about a book is it's a considered thought. It's not just a ramble on a video or a podcast. It's something where you've taken time and you've edited it and refined it down and boiled down the essence. And that's what books give you. They give you a refined thought or a refined concept. And that's why it's so hard. And we should value books. We should value when people have taken time to put something in print, because it means they've taken care over it. And I don't think we value it enough, whether it's a book or something online. I think there's a lot of media where it shows that people have taken consideration over it.
Absolutely.
So maybe, never say never, Helen. Might write another book at some point in the future.
I think we could probably retweet some of those things, having looked at them.
Yeah, maybe definitely.
There's automate that.
That's a good idea. So if people see lots of old slightly irrelevant things coming out about social media. I don't know what it is. Helen, we've got to finish because I know you said that you've got stuff to do past 11. So tell us a little bit about where we can find you online if they're interested in finding out more about you, or maybe even checking out your web services.
So basically, I'm sure you could always contact Ben and he'll put you in touch with me, but it's basically citrusweb.co.uk. That's me.
We'll make sure the links are on the post as well. Thank you very much, Helen, for your time.
No, it's a pleasure. Thank you for inviting me on. I've really enjoyed it.
It was a good excuse to catch up because we haven't done for a long time. Normally it would be over breakfast, so next time maybe we could do it over breakfast
or in the pub.
There's always that as well. We're here every Friday from 10 a.m. We cover everything from strategy, social, definitely SEO, video, and much more. Really, if you've got something exciting to share, do send it to us. On social media is totally fine. LinkedIn is preferable, or email, which works really well. support@ratherinventive.com. What's coming up next, Claire? What are we talking about next week?
So next week, we're doing our grab bag series. So we'll be put back into the hot seat and joined by Catherine Avery from Pippin Copywriting. So if you have any questions, marketing related, join us next week.
Brilliant. Thank you. I'll have a few questions to grill Catherine over as well, I'm sure. Thanks, Claire. If you want to invite a colleague, do just feel free, just invite them, share the link with them, bring them along, let Claire know so we can welcome them. Just email support@ratherinventive.com. And don't forget you can catch all our webinars. They're all recorded, so you can catch them all whenever you are free, and they're also on our podcast, so you can subscribe to that. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.